Hey everybody, in today's video I'm going to be making 3 different Imperial MOCs. All these MOCs will be done on the same 16 by 16 base plate, so let's waste no more time and get right into it. Now with this first MOC I started, I kind of wanted to go with a kind of lava planet feel, like a Mustafar or Solist kind of vibe to it. So to start this MOC, I kind of wanted to start with the centerpiece, which would be the lava river, and so I get to work on that right away. And I put some turns and twists into it, not to make it too uniform. Once I wrap that up, I start laying the bricks around the river so I can have a base point and kind of know where I'm going to build off of. Another thing I wanted to add to this MOC was kind of like a watchtower type of thing, or somewhere at least for my trooper to stand post and guard and kind of look out. So I start doing that, and I have it's kind of a simple design, but I actually really liked it and thought it fit well, so I stuck with it. I had to move it a couple times because I had to get it to fit with the terrain and make sure it wasn't hanging over the edge. But after that, I got back to work on the rest of the terrain. Now for the terrain, I used mostly studs, although I did have a few plates in there, so it wasn't just all studs. I felt like this was going to be more of a rougher terrain, so I felt more studs was needed and looked better. After I finished this terrain, I thought it looked pretty good, so I went ahead and added the border. Now the border does kind of blend in a little bit with the build, but the river and the guard post kind of help to show that it's not a part of the actual MOC. I first put the border above the edge of the guard post, but I didn't really like how that looked, so I lowered it back down, and then I was pretty satisfied with that border. So I went ahead and put my trooper on top of his lookout post, and I realized it just kind of felt empty. I didn't feel like the MOC had enough in it. So I took him off, I kind of brainstormed, and I realized you always kind of see these, I don't know how to describe them exactly, but they're kind of just like wire towers, if that makes sense. I'm not exactly sure what they're used for on these lava planets, but I know I've seen them before in like the video games and other stuff like that. So I figured I'd add those and it'd look pretty good. I tried setting another stormtrooper in there, but I didn't really like how that looked and it felt too cluttered, so I took him out, left my one guy in. So with that, I'm pretty happy with the end result, so I set back up my trooper and called a day. I actually really enjoy how this MOC ended up looking. I think those last details I added with the pillars really elevated it and made it a lot better, as it looked a little plain and basic before, but once I added those, I think it elevated it and made it feel more higher quality. Moving on to the second MOC, I kind of want to create a Hoth or frozen planet. I really love the Scout Trooper from the Snow Trooper Battle Pack, and so I really wanted to make a MOC including him. So to start off, I lay a white base down and start to build on it. Now, knowing I was going to use the Scout Trooper, I kind of also wanted to use the speeder build from that set. So I get to work on building some snowy terrain that the bike can zoom through. I grabbed a lot of white pieces and mostly slopes, and I started to get some work done on kind of a valley looking snow build. I didn't really have a goal in mind. With this one, I kind of just started building, and this is kind of what felt right. I thought having a snow speeder fly through a valley would be pretty cool. Now I'm using every slope piece I can find and all the combinations to try and make this snowy rock work look good. And for the most part, I think it's working. I'm actually pretty happy with how it was turning out as I was going. As you can see in the video, I don't really stop too much and backtrack. Most of the time I kind of just laying it down and it's working for me. And sometimes you get lucky and it goes like that in MOC building. Now there's a few too many exposed studs, so I go ahead and grab some cheese slopes as well as some other tiles and start laying those down. I also have a couple curved pieces I threw in there to give it some more geometry and not just straight lines everywhere. Another thing I added was a few dark gray tiles and cheese slopes because I just wanted to break up all the white, because otherwise this entire MOC was going to be white, and you need something to kind of break it up. Now the speeder will help with that a good amount too when it comes in, so I wasn't worried a ton about getting that color filled into the terrain. Now the MOC looks just about done. The only thing left to do is add a border. So I just lay the black brick around the edges, throw in the speeder and the scout trooper, and call it a day. And now we have a finished MOC. I actually really enjoyed this MOC. I love the slopes and the rock work, and I think the snow trooper just looks so cool flying through the valley. The only thing looking at it now that I maybe should have added was a few more tiles, but I don't think it looks bad. On to the final MOC of the video. For this one I kind of wanted to make a trooper kind of scouting a pathway and kind of like just a forest, you know, a normal kind of green planet. But I thought that was a little too basic, so I wanted to add it by like a stream or a river. So that's what I started with here. I made the blue river on the side here, and then I laid a few bricks so I could lay some plates over the edges to cover that gap between the water and the land. And then I continue on with the rest of the terrain. Now I don't have a ton of space here to work with, so it'll be a smaller kind of pathway, but that's all I need. I go ahead and grab just about every plate I have and start kind of laying them down. I realized though I had about no tiles in the pathway, and it just looked a little too stud heavy, so I went ahead and grabbed some brown tiles to break up all the studs. Now, interesting enough, actually, when I was doing that, I actually had a piece break on me. I had a little 1x1 brown tile, and I'm not sure when it broke, but in the middle of my building I just saw it was split in two. So that's unfortunate, and you see me take it out of there, and I have to replace it. I go ahead and add a few more details to the pathway because it just didn't feel quite complete. So I threw a couple cheese slopes in there. Moving on from that though, then I start to build a tree on the side because I don't feel this MOC is vertical enough. I think it's just a little too flat. So it's a relatively simple tree, so I just take a few brown slopes and start working at it. So after I get a tree shape that I really like and I'm comfortable with, I go to add the other foliage around it, and that's when I realized one of my tiles on my pathway is cracked. So I have to take a detour and get that out of there before I can finish this MOC. I ended up replacing it with a curved piece that I thought gave it some nice texture, so it kind of ended up working out. Now that I have that sorted out though, I can go ahead and get back to what I was going to do and start working on the plant life. I'm adding a bunch of the stem pieces and the little bamboo leaf pieces, bunch of grass, everything, just to give it a real forest kind of feel. I kind of realized it was getting a little too crowded though, so I did take on a couple of the pieces. After I reached a happy medium though, I started to add the leaves to the tree, which is a little bit cut off on the top of the video, so I apologize for that, but you'll be able to see it at the end. After that, I look around and I think I got a pretty complete MOC here, so I go ahead and grab some black bricks and add the final border. The last thing to do is add a trooper, so I place him in, and here we are. Now this third MOC I actually really like. I'm tempted to say it's my favorite, but there are other parts of the other MOCs I like better too. I'm actually really happy with how this MOC looks. It's pretty much exactly like I envisioned, and I love the water and how it adds such a variety in color to the MOC because we have both brown, green, and blue all in abundance in such a small space. Now finally all the MOCs are completed and we can look at them all together. This MOC challenge is actually kind of interesting because even those smaller MOCs, which most people might not think is hard, it actually kind of is, because you have to work in such a limited area, but yet I still feel like I have to add so much in and try to make it look good, which actually can be really tough to do when I'm trying to add in all these little details. I really had fun making all three of these MOCs though, and honestly I'm very happy with all of them turned out. I think they all have their strong suits, and I don't think I could pick a favorite out of them. They're all so different, and that's kind of what I aimed for. I wanted to make 3 MOCs that are very different terrains, as I thought that'd be more fun. And I think it worked because I had a good time, and on top of that, they all look really good sitting next to each other. The different planet types really helped broke them up and set them apart from each other, and really make them all interesting to sit right next to one another. I don't think any of them share a single color, actually. Now, if you made it this far in the video, I want to thank you for sticking around. And I also want you to tell me in the comments down below of which one was your favorite. I would love to hear what you guys think, because honestly, I can't really make up my mind on which one I like more. So go ahead and make sure you let me know down below. And also let me know if you want to see more content like this. I actually really enjoyed this video, even though it was my first time kind of making something like this, where I actually build the MOCs in some sort of constraint and really just go through my process of building them with you guys. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. I really had fun with this video, and I'll see you guys later.